Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into the really interesting world of private blockchains. We're going to look at why some of the biggest companies out there are moving away from public chains and building their own private walled garden versions of this incredible technology. So let's just jump right into the big question, right? We hear all the time about public blockchains, like Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're built to be open for anyone, anywhere. So if that's the whole point, why are huge enterprises and highly regulated industries going in the other direction and building their own private, permissioned networks? That is the million-dollar question, and that's what this whole explainer is about. To get to the bottom of it, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts, starting with why public blockchains, as revolutionary as they are, just don't quite fit the bill for the business world. Okay, so what are the actual hurdles? What are the specific limitations of these public platforms that are making businesses look for another way? Well, it really all boils down to these 4 things: permissions, identity, consensus, and performance. You can think of a public blockchain kind of like the public internet. It's permissionless. Anybody can hop on and you can be totally anonymous. A private blockchain, though, that's more like a company's internal network or their private database. Access is locked down tight, and everybody who's on it has a known, verifiable identity. And that gets right to the heart of why this matters so much for businesses. I mean, think about industries like finance or healthcare. They live and breathe regulations. They have to know who they're dealing with for things like KYC and AML compliance. That's know your customer and anti-money laundering rules. On top of that, you can't just broadcast sensitive business deals for the whole world to see, and you need way faster performance than most public networks can deliver. Okay, that makes total sense. So if those are the problems, let's look at the solutions. How do private and consortium blockchains actually solve these issues? What are the big advantages they bring to the table? The answer is, well, the private blockchain. And the most important thing to get here is that the right permissions, the ability to actually add transactions to the ledger, are centralized. They're controlled by one company, or maybe a small group of approved companies in a consortium. And that one change makes all the difference. This control gives you 4 huge wins. First, you get way more privacy since nothing's public. Second, the rules are flexible. The members in charge can change things on the fly without some messy public debate. Third, reaching consensus is lightning fast because you're dealing with a small number of known, trusted validators, not thousands of anonymous miners. And finally, the costs are predictable. You don't have to deal with those crazy volatile gas fees you see on public networks. So that all sounds great in theory, but let's make it real. Can we look at a specific platform that actually delivers these kinds of benefits for a typical company? Absolutely. A fantastic example is Hyperledger Fabric. It's a project that's hosted by the Linux Foundation. Now, the key thing to know about Fabric is that it's not a cryptocurrency. Think of it more like a toolkit or a foundation for building your own custom enterprise-level private blockchain applications. What makes Fabric so cool is its modular design. It's truly plug and play. A business can pick and choose the different parts it needs, like the consensus mechanism or the identity services. It's almost like building with Lego blocks. It also has this feature called channels, which are basically private communication lines between certain members on the network. This makes sure that transactions are only ever seen by the people who absolutely need to see them. That Lego block model sounds really powerful for general use. But what about those industries like finance, where confidentiality is more than just a feature, it's a strict legal requirement? Do you need an even more specialized platform for that? You sure do, and that's exactly where a platform like Corda comes into the picture. It was designed from the ground up, specifically to handle financial agreements between big institutions that need to transact with each other efficiently and privately, even if they don't fully trust each other. And what really sets Corda apart is its unique approach to data. See, unlike a lot of other blockchains, Corda doesn't broadcast transaction details across the entire network. Instead, information is only shared point to point, on a strict need-to-know basis, just between the parties involved in that specific transaction. It uses special nodes called notaries to prevent double spending, which is just a perfect design for the kind of privacy and finality that banks and financial firms demand. So you've got the generalist in Fabric and the financial specialist in Corda. But I'm guessing they're not the only 2 players in the game, right? Is this field getting a little crowded? Oh, it's getting very crowded very quickly. Let's do a quick tour. First up, you have Quorum. This was originally developed by JP Morgan, and what it does is it takes the public Ethereum platform, which is already battle-tested, and adds a layer of privacy and permissioning right on top. It's a really popular choice for financial firms that want to use Ethereum technology. Then you've got something like Monox. It also uses the powerful Ethereum virtual machine for its smart contracts, but it packages it all inside a permissioned client that's really geared towards managing complex legal agreements as if they were code. So it's built for business and legal logic. There's also a platform like Stellar. Now, this one's an open network, but its focus is very much on enterprise needs. It's designed to connect banks, payment systems, you name it, all to make cross-border payments and asset transfers super fast and incredibly cheap. And finally, you have platforms like Alpha Point. They're focused on a really exciting idea, helping institutions take real-world assets, we're talking stocks, bonds, even real estate, and turn them into digital tokens that can be traded on new, super efficient markets. And believe me, this list just keeps on growing. So when you step back and look at all of this, the big takeaway is that private blockchains aren't some rejection of the original idea of blockchain. They're really a practical adaptation of it. They take the core concepts and apply them to solve real business problems like cutting costs and boosting efficiency. Which, of course, leads us to a final, really interesting question about what comes next. Are we heading towards a future with lots of separate, specialized private blockchains that all talk to each other, kind of like a blockchain of internets? Or will one single model eventually win out and become the standard for everybody? Only time is going to tell. We hope this explainer gave you a clear look at the whole enterprise blockchain landscape. If you found it helpful, we'd love it if you'd like, share, and subscribe for even more deep dives. Thanks so much for tuning in.